And their first thing was, I never taught a blind person, so can you help me out here? What can I do to make it easier or better for you?
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, I never learned as a blind person, so I have no idea.
Mm.
So I said, we're going to learn together. So I started school there, and through the Division of Vocational Rehab Services, they paid for me a sighted assistant. That means an individual who can see. Their job was to go with me to class, help me get around, and in case I need them, they'll be there. So all of the teachers and the professors were basically, they was telling me that I could turn in my assignments through emails, and if something needed site wit, I had my sighted assistants, and they had a administrative assistant there, Melissa Strahan, and she was really helpful. So we got together, and I went through that, and it was an 18-month program.
Welcome back to the Lived Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tamia Ryan, and I'm so honored today to be joined by Dr. Charles W. Powell II, a man whose story redefines what it means to overcome adversity. 13 years ago, Dr. Powell lost his sight to a rare eye condition, which did plunge him into moments of depression and feelings of hopelessness. But through faith, family love, and an unbreakable determination, he was able to transform one of his biggest challenges into his most powerful testimony and purpose. Rather than accepting a life that had been defined by disability, Dr. Powell returned to school, earning multiple degrees, including a doctorate in business administration. And when employment barriers persisted, he then created his own path and founded the Divine Visions Enterprise, a legal and business consulting company. Today, he's nationally recognized as an advocate and a founder of the Blind But Not Broken movement, and he also spreads messages of strength, preservation, and hope. So, thank you, Dr. Powell, for joining today. I feel very honored to have you here to hear your story, to share your story with others, and also inspire others. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. You are very welcome. It is truly an honor and a blessing to be here. And hopefully, I can leave your audience with something to think about and, something to stand for.
Yes, thank you. So I like to just kind of get right in and allow people to really share their story and their journey. Can you take us back to the beginning of Dr. Powell? Where does it all begin for you? And love to hear your journey and your experience.
Well, basically, it really is a long story. I've had retinitis pigmentosa (RP) all of my life. It's an inherited eye condition that came from my mother's side of the family. My grandfather, God rest his soul, was totally blind. But 13 years ago, I lost my sight. It was basically, I figured I wasn't young when I lost it. I was 42 years old. And I just figured that I'll wear glasses my whole life or I'll have bad eyesight. I never imagined that I would go completely blind. So, yes, 13 years ago, I woke up one morning and my sight has totally left me. And that was a life changing event for me.
Yes, and just experiencing that, what was that initial, I imagine there was a moment of devastation that you have felt, fear, but walk us through what that experience was like when you woke up that morning.
When I actually woke up that morning, I knew something was different. I opened my eyes, and at first I thought I was dreaming because it's not like total darkness. I seen a bright shade of red. It was like a bright redness. It wasn't total darkness. So I'm like rubbing my eyes, like, what's going on? And I screamed for my fiance, Deanna, and she came in there. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I can't see you. I can't see you. And she was like, what? And basically, she was shocked. And, she basically like, okay, I'm flipping out. I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. She's holding it down. So we called my eye doctor, and I had an eye appointment coming up within the next week anyway.
Hmm.
So we called her, and she was just like, okay, come in. And when I went in, it was just basically, she just said, well, I don't know why. We knew you had retinitis pigmentosa. We knew that you had bad vision, but it's gone.
Mm.
And I was scared. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just like, nah, this can't be happening. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. I'm
Mm.
gonna wake up and this is gonna be a bad dream. When I realized that it wasn't a dream and I would no longer see it again, I lost my ever loving mind. I basically was like, I cried, I fought, I yelled, I screamed. I hated the world. I hated myself. It was
Mhm.
crazy. And that was not a overnight, I'm not telling you I went through these emotions in an hour or two, then I jumped up and everything was okay. This was like a 8 to 9 month, downward spiral of depression and destruction.
Mm. And I know in your story that you have shared in the past that alcohol was one of your coping mechanisms that you had turned to. And can you talk about that experience and what was the turning point that pulled you out of that?
I Alcohol wasn't one of the coping mechanisms. It was the coping. That was me. If I could wake up with a beer and drink all day, I will drink all day just so I wouldn't have to deal with the reality of life. I was just totally drinking and arguing. If my fiance said, "Good morning, sweetie, how you doing?" I was like, argue. I called this woman everything but her name and the child of God.
Mm.
I argued for no reason. Nothing that she did because she only wanted to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I hated my life. I hated my world. I didn't want nothing to do with nothing. Give me a drink.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to drink so I don't got to deal with it. When they say alcohol numbs the pain, alcohol does more than numb the pain. It drives you into a state of depression where you're not thinking right.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed my fiance away. I argued with her about the stupidest things. She was doing nothing but trying to help. And I had my daughter at that time. My daughter was 5 years old.
Okay.
Now, mind you, my daughter is, was, and always will be the greatest gift that God has ever given me.
Mm-hmm.
She was there and she was witnessing me just lose my mind, drinking, arguing with her mother. You know, I it wasn't in public. I would just argue. It got to the point where my fiance and her would leave the house and go to my fiance's parents' house just to get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was constant for 8, 9 months.
Okay.
And you asked the question what brought me out of that and what made me actually see that life went on. Every time my daughter would ask me to play with her or do something with her, I can't do it. I can't see. I can't see. Leave me alone. I'll go to my room, and I mean, just hearing the sadness in her voice, it didn't even register to me at that
Mm-hmm.
time. I just go to the refrigerator, get another beer, take another drink. And one day we were sitting there, and my daughter came to me in the sincerest voice. It's like, "Daddy, why don't you love me no more?" And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "What?" I was like, "Princess, Daddy will always love you. Nothing in this world will make me stop loving you." And she said, "We don't play no more. We don't do this. We don't spend time. We don't talk." And the first thing out of my mouth was, "Baby, you don't understand now. Daddy is blind. I can no longer do these things. I'm not the same person." And she actually said, a 5 year old told me, "That's okay, Daddy. I will close my eyes and be blind with you, and we can still play."
Mm.
And that statement from this young woman at the time, 5 years old, it broke me.
Yeah.
I felt so ashamed and so lost that I retreated and cried. It broke me down. And I knew that I had to do better. So that was the first step where,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. And my fiance, even though all of the yelling and all of the arguments, she still researched everything and research support groups, research the NFB, research different resources
Mm-hmm.
for me to get back into it. So the catalyst for Dr. Charles W. Powell would be credited to my daughter Sarah.
And just that moment, thank you so much for sharing that and being vulnerable to share your story. And I'm just imagining all of that play out, and then that shift in your life, it sparked you. It said, wait a minute, something's got to change. And so, our children bring that out of us so much. They don't realize, like I said, she was just 5 years old. She had no idea saying that was going to be that catalyst for you to say, okay, you know what? I need to get back to where I need to be. And your
Exactly.
fiance, you mentioned her as well. How did her support through that? Because I hear consistency when you're telling me she kept showing up, she kept reaching out, even though you were pushing her away in your moment of grief. What did her support, or what does her support mean for you today?
Everything. Divine Visions Enterprise, the Blind But Not Broken movement, the Dr. Charles W. Powell would not be if it was not for her. If it wasn't for her and my daughter, her support meant the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, people don't understand that when you lose a vital part of your life like your sight, I just didn't lose my sight. I lost my identity. I had no idea who I was.
Mm-hmm.
It was times that, I didn't care if I woke up the next morning or not. This woman stayed around and showed up time after time when I left myself. And that was one of my biggest fears that, when I was drinking and everything, I just thought she was going to leave me. She deserved better. I can't, contribute to our family finances. I can't do this. I'm a broken man.
Mm-hmm.
So my fear was I was going to lose her. So my method of thinking was I will push her away and it'll be easy for me to deal with.
Right.
But she wouldn't leave.
She was ride or die. She was like, nope, you're not getting rid of me that easy.
Definitely. So after, I realized after my daughter smacked me up the head with a reality stick and let me know that life was still livable,
Mm.
I've only lost my sight and I was still breathing. So that's when she did the research. She found the National Federation of the Blind in my community.
Mhm.
She found vocational rehabilitation services for the blind and sight impaired.
Mhm.
She found these organizations, and I just followed her lead.
Right.
And once I started going to meetings with the NFB, once I started going through DVR, vocational rehab services, I started having a little hope. They sent me to training centers down in Nitro, West Virginia, where I learned to use a cane.
Mhm.
I learned to use a computer, which basically I didn't even like computers when I had sight, so that was a big thing for me.
Right.
But it was her research, her tenacity to go out there and find a way. I didn't do these things. She did those things, so she got the ball rolling. So
Mhm.
her support means the world to me, and I contribute my success of where I am today. I thank God first and foremost,
Mhm.
but I contributed to her and my daughter.
And after experiencing all of that, you then said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school. And you earned, I believe, was it three master's degrees? And then double, I say triple back and got your doctorate. So, what was that experience like? Now, okay, you're like, hey, life is worth living. I'm on the move. What was that experience like going back to school?
One, I had no intentions of going to school.
Mm-hmm.
I That wasn't even a thought. Once I got up and about and we started doing things as a family again, my fiance took me to a festival called a Blackberry Festival that's here in West Virginia.
Okay.
And they got vendors, they got rides, they got a lot of stuff out there. So we was walking through the festival, and this woman, Kimberly Blair, she was a admissions representative for the West Virginia Business College, and she came up to us and she was talking to my fiance because they had a nursing program and a paralegal program.
Mm-hmm.
Now my fiance is already in the medical field, but she was talking to my fiance pitching a nursing program.
Okay.
And then she also said they had a pair. When my fiance told her that she was already in the nursing field, she said they had a paralegal program, and when my fiance didn't show no interest, the lady just went on and we walked on. But the whole time, the paralegal program sounded good because I was like, okay, I'm on disability, but disability. Thankful that it's out there to help individuals, and for those who can live off of it. But I knew I couldn't live off of it. I didn't want to rely on disability.
Mm-hmm.
So when me and my fiance got home that night, we was laughing about the events at the festival. And I brought up the young lady who was trying to, sell her to go into school. And, first we laughed at it. Then I was like, yo, I wouldn't mind trying that, that paralegal program.
Mm-hmm.
And, she was like, well, why not? So the next Monday, we actually went down to the business college, the little junior college here in town, spoke to the same young lady, Miss Kimberly Blair, the Mrs. Representative. And when she seen us come in, again, she thought my fiance changed her mind. But when I told her that, I'm interested in a paralegal program, and her first thing was, you're blind. I was like, okay, I kind of realized that already. I mean,
Yes.
been there, done that. I heard that already.
Mm-hmm.
And when she found out I was serious, she actually enrolled me. And when I enrolled in there, they had the starting classes were like a month away. The first day that I showed up to the school, all of the teachers and professors was introducing themselves, and their first thing was, "I never taught a blind person, so can you help me out here? What can I do to make it easier or better for you?"
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, I never learned as a blind person, so I have no idea.
Mm.
So I said, we're going to learn together. So I started school there, and through the Division of Vocational Rehab Services, they paid for me a sighted assistant. That means an individual who can see. Their job was to go with me to class,
Okay.
help me get around, and in case I need them, they'll be there. So all of the teachers and the professors were basically, they was telling me that I could turn in my assignments through emails, and if something needed sight with, I had my sighted assistants, and they had a administrative assistant there, Melissa Strahan, and she was really helpful. So we got together, and I went through that, and it was an 18-month program. During the 18 months, I think I was a month and a half away from completing that program. And one of my law professor, he was talking to a professor, actually the dean of the criminal justice department at one of the bigger schools called Salem University. And
Mm-hmm.
they had an open house. And when I went to the open house, I actually met the dean of the criminal justice program, not knowing that he had already had previous conversations about me with my law instructor at the junior college.
Mm-hmm.
We talked, we went through his crime house. He showed me the campus and said, did I have an interest in um, coming there for my bachelor's?
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, again, my whole intention was getting an 18-month certificate so I can help, contribute to my family's financial stability.
Mm-hmm.
That's as far as that thought went.
Right.
But I end up knowing that I like school. I enjoyed learning, so I signed up for my bachelor's degree at Salem University. And I guess that's when they say that's history, that
Mm-hmm.
bachelor's degree turned into a dual bachelor's in criminal justice, specializing in homeland security and crime scene investigations, a triple master's in cybersecurity, criminal justice administration, and forensic science, and to top it off with my doctorate in business administration with a focus on finance and management.
Wow. So, I mean, you started out saying, like, hey, I just want to feel independent. I want to contribute to, I'm going to just go get these 4 degrees real quick and wrap it up. Um, Thank you for sharing that. And, I appreciate that the instructors, that your professors were like, I need to learn from you. And you're like, we're going to learn this together. So y'all both were going through this journey together, your professors, you. And did you see a change in them and just the accessibility that was available to students? Did you see any of that start to happen?
I've seen them more, they really turned to the fact that at first I didn't think that I could make it through because I did have people in the blind community telling me that you can't do it. It can't be done. And everybody's like, look, it's a trial and error. I didn't think I was gonna make it through because again, I just started dealing with my blindness as a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wasn't sure I can do it, but my determination, my tenacity, and my discipline, showing up to school every day, they started learning how to deal with me differently. And by the time that I got through the program, each of them told me, like, if we have the opportunity in the future that a blind person or a sight impaired individual wants to enroll here, they thanked me because now they know how to do better. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think they did a bad job. I actually graduated on the dean's list
Yeah.
with a 4.0 GPA, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they did a bad job, but I did see, they were more patient and more, diligent. They wasn't babying me like, treat me different. They just knew I was there to learn and they just made it accessible for me.
Yes, accessibility is so important, and but still offering balancing that independence. And it sounds like they were able to balance both of those for you. Now,
Yes.
let's fast forward a little bit. You've got all these degrees now. You're Doctor, let me say it right, Dr. Charles W. Powell II, okay? Because I love, that's just, that just sounds fancy. I'm Dr. Charles W. Powell II. But after all of that, you're still at that point facing employment barriers. How did that impact you? You've done all this work, you put the work in. How did that affect you?
When I got to the university, the dean, Dr. Cam Lounsbury, loved this man, loved him to life. He was the dean of criminal justice as well as my bachelor's professor. He was helping me. He was so impressed at the work I was doing and everything that I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
He was helping me send in resumes. We were sending resumes to law offices in a 20 to 30 mile radius, different corporations, and we was doing this through my bachelor's up until my master's.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get interviews. Once they see my resume, I would get called in for an interview. But it seems like when I walked into the interview,
Mm.
the whole atmosphere changed.
Right.
And I'm not gonna say it was due to my blindness, but I'm not stupid. So
Right.
I just feel like it was a change that they didn't give me the opportunity. They just seen my blindness. They didn't see me.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny part about that is when I was working on my second master's, I still didn't want to depend on disability, so I put in the application at Chick-fil-A to wash dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am with a dual bachelor's working on my second master's in criminal justice. And I'm going to Chick-fil-A. And when I went to Chick-fil-A, I was just, okay, they don't have a dishwasher. And they seen the fact that I was blind. And I
Mm-hmm.
seen the conversation go on to another direction. So I just basically said, look, if you show me the area I'm going to work or what I'm going to be doing, I'll tell you if I can do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you have nobody back there washing dishes. You give me the opportunity to 2 to 3 weeks. If I'm not up to par or
Mm-hmm.
doing it the way you want me to do it, I'll be bad enough to say I quit.
Right.
So they gave me the opportunity, and that opportunity turned into like a 2 year run at Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
Now, mind you, while I'm working at Chick-fil-A, I'm still putting in resumes to law firms and different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And once the doors kept closing, August of 2021, I set back my sister, Tia. She is a big, big inspiration and a big, supporter of mine. She was like, well, you know what? You need to start your own business. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we got together and we started Divine Visions, which back then it was Divine Visions Consulting and Paralegal Services, LLC.
Okay.
We started that in August of 2021. And I was basically still working at Chick-fil-A, but I was doing stuff on the side with Divine Visions. And I still going to school. So at the end of 2021, I said, okay, the beginning of 2022, I'm going to quit Chick-fil-A and we'll start taking my business serious. And I'm just going to focus on that and try to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
I quit Chick-fil-A January of 2022. And I started working on Divine Visions. I started, reaching out to the community, letting them know what I do as far as legal research, legal document preparations, and things of that nature. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a little business here, a little business there, and lo and behold, in February, middle of February, I got a call from an oil and gas company, and they had got my resume and they wanted me to come in for an interview. And right now, I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on divine vision, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be this dumbfounded and not going for the interview. I told them I was blind, and
Mm-hmm.
I told them I'd be in for the interview. So I went in for the interview, and lo and behold, this one company, they wanted to be different, so they gave me the opportunity. So I went to work for them. I stayed with them. I was making really good money.
Mm-hmm.
It was a job. I let divine visions fall by the wayside. And I was with them. And at this point in time, I'm going for my doctorates, and I'm at to the point that I'm starting my doctoral study, my dissertation. Anyone who took the doctoral journey knows that that is not a part-time job. When you're
Right.
writing your doctoral study or your dissertation, that's a full-time job in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically, in November of 22, no, 23, 2023, I left the oil and gas company and started working on my doctoral dissertation because I had to get it. I was already working on it, so I had to get it finished because I wanted to graduate in 2024.
Okay.
So basically, I stopped working, and then Divine Visions was my only source of income.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make it work. So I was getting business through Divine Visions, helping out here, doing paperwork there. And then in 2024, I basically graduated with my doctorates in business administration. So now I've graduated, I'm in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where things get serious now. I have no job. I'm like, okay, Divine Visions is my baby. So we're still Divine Visions Consulting and Paralegal Services LLC. But then I had someone reach out to me and be like, okay, in your business degree, what can you do? So I was telling them everything I could do with my business degree, everything I know. So they was like, okay, well, can I hire you to do this for, and this is a company out here, a restaurant actually.
Okay.
And I was their business management. I was their business consultant. Everything business and legal I was actually doing when it comes to like the non-disclosure agreements, the
Mm-hmm.
contracts, the different distributions. I was handling all of that for this restaurant.
Mm.
So I'm getting my feet wet now. So once I started doing that, I started getting more calls, but it was more focusing on business, financial literacy coaching,
Mm.
management services, and everything. So that is when I got to the point in 2025, Divine Visions Consulting and Paralegal Services LLC transformed into Divine Visions Enterprise.
Okay.
And that is where we are today. We are Divine Visions Enterprise, and we have been recognized nationwide.
Mm.
So
Wow. I mean, that's got to be a good feeling to look back at your journey and to how you felt, what you experienced. To I'm just gonna take some classes to feel some independence to now being nationally recognized. And you mentioned something earlier where you were talking about when you went in for one of the interviews and the person said you're blind. And is that a comment that you have experienced often through your journey where people, you said, they don't see you, they don't recognize you, they are looking at what challenges you might have?
they don't come out and say that in my face,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I've heard it in the background. Prime example, one of the prestigious law firms out here, they had a ad in the paper for a paralegal. And an individual who works at this law firm gave me a call, like, look, put in your resume. And I put in my resume, and 2 days later, they called me.
Mm-hmm.
I shows up at the interview. I go in there. I take all their questions. I answer everything they had. And the individual who works at this law firm was so happy because they knew I had the job.
Right.
They knew it was a no brainer. I didn't hear from these people for like 3 weeks. And the individual who initially contacted me called me and was like, "Yo, they hired an individual who had no experience and a 18-month certificate from a junior college."
Mm.
And I was like, "Are you serious?" And she was like, "Well, everybody, the talk around the office was, well, will it be a liability with him being in the office because he can't see? Will it be, we don't know. He got all the education, but could he actually do this? We work on a computer a lot." And they had no idea that I use screen readers, that I can use the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So they underestimated me without even knowing. And the individual, they couldn't actually say anything because that's their job, and they wasn't in one of the higher positions
Right.
where they would take their word, the credibility of them. So they didn't want to make no waves. So I was like, okay, no worries, no problem. I get it. And that is when I noticed that they don't take me serious, and they feel like it would be a risk to gamble on me.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't deter me. I continued to work with Divine Visions. And this is how good, and I'm a religious person, so this is how good God is.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call from an individual who was going through a legal matter, and they couldn't afford an attorney. And when I found out who were the defending attorneys, it was the same company. I told this individual, well, basically, you don't need a lawyer, you just need paperwork. And it was going in for a case that only needed paperwork. I could do all the paperwork for you, and you just submit it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna walk out of that courtroom victorious.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, "But I can't pay you." I was like, "You know what? No worries." I felt bad for them, and I didn't like the attorneys that they was going up against.
Yeah.
So I did all the paperwork, and I told them when they went to court, when you get the verdict in your favor, your payment to me is to walk over to them and tell them thank you, and just tell them who did your paperwork.
Okay.
And they did that. The verdict went in their favor, and I wish I could have seen the lawyer's face when she told them who did the paperwork for her, because that's what they passed over.
Wow. And they probably thought back and they remembered.
They did. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so funny because I go out in the community today and I make a lot of noise. I advocate and I'm in the community. And some of these people who turned their back on me, who looked away,
Mm-hmm.
they see now. And they're just, I mean, I don't want them to feel bad.
Right.
I just want them to understand, if you have the opportunity in the future, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right. That's a lesson for them, for the next person that they
Exactly.
meet and they encounter. And that leads me into a question. How do you want to change society's perceptions?
I want them, first and foremost, I have a movement called Blind But Not Broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an advocacy movement where we're educating, we're informing society, and we're uplifting the blind and sight impaired community to let them know that we're blind, we're not broken.
Mm-hmm.
I want society to see that just because we're blind does not mean that we're, useless or broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I have two words in society that I cannot stand. The first one is disability,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one is vision impaired.
Okay.
First of all, I don't feel that I have a disability. I have a differability
Mm.
because I do things different.
Yes.
When you say disability, you're putting a stigma on me already, saying that I don't have the ability to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the word means.
Yeah.
So why are you putting that on people?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a disability, it's a differability.
Mm-hmm.
My vision is clear. My vision became the most clear after I lost my sight.
Yeah.
It's a sight impairment. I still have vision. I have a vision to change the world. I have a vision to change prospects, to make a change. I have a vision that don't see the change, but it's going to bring about the change.
Yes.
It's just like I look at this. What I want to leave society. If you remember the Water Boy with Adam Chandler, Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Boucher. When Bobby Boucher started being on the football field, becoming a nightmare for quarterbacks, he played defense like no other. And all the other colleges were starting to put their water boys, their mascots, they're looking for different ways to bring players and see if they can still produce like Bobby Boucher produced for his team.
Yeah.
So I want to be the Bobby Boucher of the blind community.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to see, like, okay, if Dr. Charles can do it, if Charles can do it, let's give another blind person that opportunity. I want them to see, okay, this man did it and he's blind.
Mm-hmm.
He shocked us, so maybe we are, being hasteful by not giving them opportunities. And the best part about that is, if people think what I am doing is so big, there are so many others in the blind and sight impaired community who's doing the same thing.
Right.
I am the legal consultant for the Blind Professionals Network.
Mm-hmm.
We bring forth training. We give training on computers. We give training in mobility. We help our community. We just started a new department, the BPN Workplace Solutions, where we're going into companies, training them on how to have blind employees. We're introducing them to a blind community, and not only are we introducing these companies to blind professionals, we're making their office accessible for the blind people to come in and work. So we're not just out here saying we want to make a difference, we're actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. You're doing the work and you're changing the stereotypes, and thank you for that education as well, just on, because I do believe language is powerful, and we have to educate ourselves on, how we speak to others, how we describe others. And so I love your description of saying, I'm not disabled. I have different abilities, but I'm not
Mm.
disabled. And taking back that power. And I think that you have shown, I know that you have shown that in everything that you have done, and definitely an inspiration to others. How can people connect with you, connect with your movement, connect with your consulting agency? Let people know how they can get with you.
If you want to know about Divine Visions Enterprise and what we do and what we're all about, you can visit our website at www.divinvisionsenterprise.com. You can email info at divinevisionsenterprise.com. And for speaking engagements or just personal questions for myself, you can email me at Dr. Charles, DrCharles, at divinevisionsenterprise.com. And if you have a blind or sight impaired individual in your family, a friend, or someone who need resources, please feel free to look up the Blind Professionals Network. You can find them at www.blindpro.org. And if you're a company out there who wants to make a difference or who wants to meet or hire blind or sight impaired individuals, we do have the BPN Workplace Solutions that can be found at www.b as in boy, P as in professional network, N as in network, workplacesolutions.org. So we are always there. The Blind But Not Broken movement, I definitely do motivational speaking. I advocate if you have a blind or sight impaired individual in your family
Mm-hmm.
who needs advocacy, you can also contact me at Divine Visions Enterprise.
Thank you. And I'll make sure to have all of that information in the podcast description so people can just go right there and find you. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Powell, for taking the time out. And I have one last question I want to leave you with or ask you. For someone who might be facing their own challenges, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, what message of hope do you want them to know?
First and foremost, believe in God. I don't know If they're religious, whoever their higher power is, whether it's God, whether it's themselves, whether it's meditation, believe in a higher being than yourself and never give up the fight. As long as you have breath in your body, you are still amongst the living, you still have a chance. Never let your circumstances, situations, or anything define who you are. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy because it wasn't for me. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's easy, you don't want it. So continue to fight. Don't never stop fighting. Even though I lost my sight, I gained a vision and I have a purpose. Instead of asking now, why me, or being mad at God in the world saying, why me? I thank God for bringing me through the struggle and I ask, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
And my signature quote to the world who continues to see me as a disabled individual who see my blindness and don't see me, do not pity my blindness, fear my vision, because when you finally open your eyes and see my vision becoming a reality, you're not going to know what to do. It's about change. It's time for change. And I want to be a part of that change. Whether it's going to be done with society, like they closed the doors on employment, I started my own company.
Mm-hmm.
I done everything thus far by the grace of God with the love of my fiance, my daughter, and the support of my family. Imagine how much more I can do if I was just given the opportunity. Society is the one that's blind to the capabilities of those who are different.
Mm-hmm.
So never give up. Continue to believe, continue to fight, and if you want it bad enough, like they say, the faith of a mustard seed can move a mountain. You can move any mountain that's in your way if you got faith in yourself and those in the higher band.
Thank you so much, Dr. Powell, for sharing your story, offering inspiration, and just encouraging people to connect with you and educate ourselves always. That's such a big part of the work, is educating ourselves. So thank you again. I would love to have you back on. I know you're going to continue to keep doing great things. So I would love to catch up and get the updates. And everyone will be back in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.